Hi, I'm Pat Domeratz. I'm the instructor for collective bargaining through Cornell University's online program. Um, I've been an adjunct for just over 17 years here in the Rochester, New York area, and I'll fill you in a little bit more about me in just a minute. But I want to tell you a little bit about the course that is starting on April 5th of 2010, and I think you'll be interested in it. The course is taught about collective bargaining from a union perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're not in a union or interested in the union perspective, if you're a manager or neutral, you're certainly welcome and encouraged to take the course. It's just that every instructor, whether they wish to admit it or not, has a perspective. And mine is from a union perspective with my background. But the frameworks that I'll set out are universal about the law and the process of collective bargaining. But your thoughts and opinions would be encouraged if you're from a different perspective. The course covers several key frameworks, as I mentioned. The first is the political, social, and economic factors that influence collective bargaining. And that's everything from the economy that we read about every day to the elected process and the governmental process, the elections themselves, what laws are passed or attempted to be passed. Socially, what are people's opinions and thoughts about collective bargaining, about unions, about raises, about companies or governmental entities, and all those processes and thoughts affect the bargaining process. So we'll review some of those. What's the legal framework for both public and private sector bargaining, and how have they changed over the years, and how does that matter when you're sitting down to bargain a contract? How do you prepare for negotiations? How do you prepare members for negotiations? How do you prepare leaders for negotiations? How do you formulate proposals? How do you prepare for activity at the bargaining table? That is, how do you prepare the teams themselves within the teams for how to make decisions, how to communicate, how to prioritize, etc. How do you bargain wages, health care, job security? And finally, how do you deal with managing conflicts at bargaining? Whether it's the decision-making process itself between teams or within teams, or if the parties cannot come to an agreement, how do you use third parties, whether it's a mediator, a fact finder, or in some cases, an arbitrator for interest arbitration? And how do you deal with issues like strikes and lockouts and strike alternatives, and what are ways that they can be successful or not? The course is evaluated through 25% of the final grade being participation, 35% being the midterm exam, and 40% being the final exam. The requirements of the course: that you participate fully, that you complete your assignments on time, that you have a successful completion of the midterm and of the final exam. Now, I understand that all of you or most of you are working families who take these courses and have full-time or part-time jobs, or maybe students with full-time load. So there is some flexibility with some timelines, but there just needs to be communication between you and I. The interactive participation in the course is interesting and happens on a regular basis throughout the week, in which there is a discussion area in which I'll leave questions that pertain to the readings from the text and from notes that I leave, and they deal with real-life contexts of those materials. So if we're dealing with healthcare, I may ask questions about your perspectives on the proposed national legislation in healthcare, or what's been happening in a given local area, or if there's been something in the news between a union and a healthcare entity, or people losing their healthcare or having to pay more for their healthcare. I'll ask a little bit about those to start the discussion off. And it's not just opinion, but it's asking people to really dig a little deeper and ask some tougher questions. The end of the course features a virtual mock collective bargaining session in which I'll prepare both teams. The class will be divided into a management and a union team. I'll have a private sector mock scenario, and I'll be giving the teams a set of the facts pertaining to the collective bargaining in which they'll use to formulate their proposals, and then the teams will decide how they're going to proceed with prioritizing the proposals, finding out about facts, what questions they'll be asking the other parties, and how they'll go about bargaining. And then there will be an actual bargaining session the final week between the chief negotiators for the union and the management team, culminating in either a strike or some sort of an impasse. So I think you'll enjoy it. I think it'll be a good deal of fun. A little bit more about me from a personal perspective. As I said, I've been teaching with Cornell for about the last 17 years. I've been teaching credit and non-credit courses from collective bargaining to healthcare, civil service law, organizing, and issues around subcontracting and privatization. The past president and current member of the Cornell University ILR Adjuncts Faculty Union, and have been participating in that for about the last 8 years. Currently, I work for New York State United Teachers, NYSUT, who is affiliated with the AFT and the NEA, and I'm a past employee before that with the Civil Service Employees Association, whose national affiliate is AFSCME. My job entails everything from member education and training to bargaining contracts, of course, to dealing with healthcare issues of members, processing grievance, arguing arbitrations, and other work-related issues around our members' needs. I live and work in Rochester, New York, and have volunteered for a number of nonprofit organizations and community groups that are looking to improve the well-being of citizens of Rochester and the neighbors and around the neighborhood where I live in Rochester. And I'm also a volunteer firefighter. So I look forward to seeing you in April for the collective bargaining course. The course again runs from April 5th to June 14th. And if you have any questions, you can find out more information from the Cornell website. And I look forward to seeing you. Thanks.